Inspired by this advice, Jackson began acquiring publishing rights to various songs, starting with smaller catalogs from artists like Sly and the Family Stone, before setting his sights on a much larger prize. In 1985, the publishing company ATV Music, which owned the rights to around 4,000 songs, including 251 Beatles tracks primarily written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney, went up for sale. The Beatles catalogue had been under ATV's control since 1969, when the band's original publishing company, Northern Songs, was acquired by the British company Associated Television in a deal that left Lennon and McCartney without ownership of their own songs. When ATV decided to sell its catalogue, McCartney expressed interest in buying it back, but found the asking price too high. Jackson, however, saw an opportunity to secure a valuable asset. After months of negotiations, he purchased ATV Music for $47.5 million on August 14, 1985, outbidding McCartney and others. This acquisition gave Jackson control over iconic Beatles songs like Hey Jude, Yesterday and Let It Be, making him one of the most powerful figures in music publishing at the time. The purchase strained Jackson's relationship with McCartney, who felt betrayed by the move. McCartney had shared the business advice in good faith, not expecting Jackson to use it to acquire the very songs McCartney had hoped to reclaim. The two reportedly drifted apart, with McCartney later describing the act as dodgy, feeling that Jackson had essentially pulled the rug out from under him. For Jackson, however, the purchase was a shrewd business decision. The Beatles catalogue proved to be a financial lifeline, generating significant royalties and serving as collateral for loans during periods of financial difficulty in his later years. In 1995, facing mounting debts, Jackson sold 50% of ATV to Sony for $95 million, forming the joint venture Sony ATV Music Publishing. This partnership expanded the company's holdings to include songs by other major artists, but Jackson gained a significant stake in the Beatles catalogue. Jackson held on to his share of the Beatles catalogue until 2008, when financial pressures forced him to relinquish his remaining interest to Sony, one of his primary creditors. After his death in 2009, his estate continued to manage his share until 2016, when Sony bought out the estate's 50% stake in Sony ATV for $750 million, giving Sony full control of the Beatles catalogue. Meanwhile, McCartney pursued legal action to reclaim his share of the publishing rights, leveraging US copyright law that allows songwriters to recapture their rights after a certain period. In 2017, he reached a confidential settlement with Sony ATV, regaining some control over the songs he had co-written. Jackson's ownership of the Beatles' music for over 2 decades not only highlighted his business acumen, but also underscored the complex dynamics of friendship, betrayal, and the high stakes of the music industry.